Okay, land and water use, introduction to sustainability. So we've already talked about sustainability a little bit in the first week of the class. We did that activity. We were all fishing for a fishing village, and some of us survived long term and some of us didn't, right? So our learning goals for this one are explain sustainability and describe some of the environmental indicators of sustainability. So what I want you to do is turn to another person at your table that you didn't talk to yet. What are some basic human needs? Okay, so we can talk about sustainability all day long, but we still have to meet the needs of the people. So give some examples of things you need. Ready, go.
Water.
You will die. She will. Like 2 days, it's die.
Okay, and wrap it up. 3, 2, and 1. Janae, give me 1. Clothing. Kayla, give me another one. Yeah. Food. Makai, give me 1. Water. Cart.
Breathable air.
Breathable air. Good. Faith, give me 1 more. Shelter. Good. Okay, all those things should be basic human rights. Unfortunately, we don't have that. Okay. So sustainability is being able to use a resource or engage in activity without jeopardizing its ability of future generations to engage in similar activities. Okay, so we are maintaining something. We're using a renewable/sustainable resource too much, too quickly, to cause it to become non-renewable/unsustainable. Examples, deforestation, right? Okay, trees are renewable, but if we use them all at the same time, that'd be bad. Okay? Yep. Okay? The most important factor in this problem is population size. More people demand more resources, so the focus becomes how to get the existing population to demand less or consume more sustainably at a rate equal to or slower than the resources become renewed. Okay, so how can we use our resources more efficiently? Or how can we use less of them? Or how can we get our population to go down? So we already saw that as a trend, the more educated a population is, the less children they have. And so hopefully as we become better as a world society, that'll kind of take care of itself. But in the meantime, our population is still going to grow. So I have a question. What's going to make a bigger impact? Is it individuals or groups? So is it one person doing a sustainable thing, or is it going to be groups of people doing a sustainable thing? Always groups, right? It doesn't matter how many vegetables Karch eats and doesn't eat meat, right? If we're all still eating meat, that's not going to be that big of an impact. But like, if this whole table is deciding to do a vegetarian diet, it's going to have an effect, right? That's quarter of the class. Right? So even that group, right? So what are some ways that JC could implement some sustainable development? So what are some ways that the community you live in could help implement some sustainable development?
The recycling program should be better.
Okay, recycling better program be better. What do you say, Maka?
I'll say increase the price of meat, so then you're less likely to buy it.
Okay, increase the price of meat, so you're less likely to buy it. That's good. What else? Okay, more vegetarian options. Good. What else? Let's see. Does Jeff City have any abandoned buildings?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What can we do to help reduce our footprint in Jeff City?
Tear down.
Move stuff there.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm hearing a couple different ideas. So we could renovate it for different uses. You could tear it down and rebuild over it. So you're not building over existing land. Good. So when you renovate or you build something new, what type of materials do you typically use? Okay, concrete. What else?
Wood.
Wood. What else?
Metals.
Plastic, metals, right? So do you think Jeff City might be able to figure out a way to reuse some of those resources and buildings that already exist?
People would knock down the buildings, use some of that stuff to renovate the other ones. So we have specific areas where we just have reserved land. So like we could have just one forest and then specific areas that are renovated with materials from the last buildings.
Yeah, good. So offer reduced cost on recycled wood. Okay, so if you take down a wall, that wood in there is still good. You just have to recycle it, right? Somebody else has to do it. And if I'm a contractor, what am I trying to do? trying to make money, right? So if I can buy my materials lower than a regular cost, why would I not do that? Yeah, we could also make more permeable surfaces, so roads that are, have less roads going and less buildings, build taller, not wider. Great. Okay. So developed nations consume more resources than developing nations. Earth's current population is about 8 billion. It continues to grow slowly in developed nations, but consumption remains high. Okay, developing nations are growing at a much faster rate and eventually consume more resources due to population number and development status. Okay, so this is what our population growth has looked like. What kind of graph is this? Exponential, right? So with the duckweed lab, what was supposed to happen is you're supposed to see exponential growth. Unfortunately, it kind of dried out and everything just died. Maybe we'll try it again later. Okay, so as you have people, that's more people to have more people, right? And then you have more people to have more people, and you have babies to have more babies, right? So that's why that's growing, right? But let's think about this. So the United States is a developed nation, right? So we use a lot of resources. But do we also do like good things too? Yeah, we have recycling programs, right? Okay. Do we do slash and burn farming very often? No. Okay, because we know that's like the least efficient and it saturates, right? We do other sustainable things. So while we are using, a lot of resources, we're also trying to recycle a little bit too. And so most developed countries are. So while we suck at using resources, we're also, pushing it back in the right direction. So it's not all doom and gloom, even though this class would lead you to believe that. Okay. So in order to live sustainably, scientists agree some benchmarks must be met. Environmental systems must be monitored so they're not damaged beyond their ability to recover. Renewable resources must not be depleted faster than they regenerate. Okay, so we have to give our trees time to grow, or our fish populations time to repopulate, or our deer. Okay, we can't kill too many deer in one season, or else they're not going to have enough to grow back sustainably, right? Okay. Deer hunting is a great thing to regulate population and continue to make sure we have that resource, because if not, they'll starve, right? We don't kill any of them. Okay, non-renewable resources should be used sparingly. So moving away from fossil fuels would be a good idea. Trying to figure out an alternative to lithium batteries for our electric stuff, right? Okay, so development that balances current human well-being and economic advancement with resources management for the benefit of future generations should be the goal. That's sustainable development. So not what's good for here and now, but what's good for our grandchildren, right? So we're stewards, okay? So anything we do now is going to be affecting the earth later. Anything that your parents did is affecting the earth now. Anything your grandparents did is affecting us now, right? And I feel like the big trend on TikTok is like hate Gen X or hate baby boomers, right? That's what they did to the economy, because that's affecting us now, right? Okay, so what can we do now to help our kids be better in the future? So we gotta think about the Hunger Games. Yeah. Okay, so explain sustainability. We're still on that first one. It says we study how much can be taken of a resource in order to continue harvesting it indefinitely, or this is called an MSY, maximum sustainable yield. The best way to do this is to keep the resource population at half the carrying capacity. Remember our lab? How many fish could you catch to keep your resources from keep growing? Half, right? What's half times 2? 1, right? 100%. So 50 times 2 is always 100. Okay, so if we only catch half, then our population should be fine. Okay. An example that your book goes over, which is pretty cool, is cutting down forests selectively is actually a good thing for it. Okay, so if you take a forest and it has too many tall canopies, can anything grow below it? No, because there's not enough sunlight in there, right? But if you take the forest and you cut too many trees down, what happens? Okay, so we could say there's less food, right? Also, what now is getting to the sunlight more than ever? The ground, and it dries it out, so there's no moisture in the ground, so things can't grow, right? So then there's nothing to eat, so it's just a collapsing thing. So it's actually good to prune things. It's actually good to take out part of your trees. Okay. Trying to figure out your MSY or maximum sustainable yield with certainty is difficult due to calculating birth rates, death rates, and carrying capacity of a system. So trees take a lot longer to grow and rebalance their population than deers, right? Okay. Fish take a long time, or they can take not that long a time. So it's kind of hard to figure it out. But once an MSY is set, it takes several years or seasons to determine the set or harvest rate was too large. The problem is if you are letting people harvest too much the first year, is your population going to bounce back as easy? No, right? But if you don't let people harvest enough, what happens? Yeah, the ecosystem can't sustain the population, right? Or it can't sustain us. So it's kind of it's a tricky thing, okay? Okay. So understanding the extent of human impact on the environment is essential to monitoring the state of ecosystems and Earth overall. One way to view this is by identifying environmental indicators. These are measurements that describe the current state or system on the Earth. So good indicators include biodiversity. So how many different organisms are living in this area? Is it productive? Okay. Is food production good? Is the soil fertile? Can I grow food? Can I grow food for my food? Okay, if it's a barren desert, that's probably not a good environmental indicator for what you're trying to do. Global surface temperature and CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. So you guys live in a time where we are more concerned about greenhouse gases than we ever have been. Okay, because when things like the ice caps melt, and then that affects biodiversity, and that doesn't get through to you. I have a video clip you should watch of walruses jumping off cliffs and killing themselves because that will get your heart breaking.
What is it?
Yeah, so these walruses all congregate on one of these Arctic islands, and usually there's a lot of ice cap, so they can all spread out and do their thing, right? And so they migrate there. Well, in recent years, there hasn't been enough ice to support everybody, so they're all really jammed together. So to get away from that, some of these walruses found a way to get up to like a cliff or an elevated area. They're going up there doing their thing, but walruses don't have the ability to climb back down. And so they're trying to come back down, and they fall, and then they kill themselves on the way down from hitting the rocks and things like that. And so, like, if that doesn't make your heart hurt a little bit, yeah, I don't know. Okay? Pretty hilarious that an animal that can't do anything about it is being ruined because of our actions. Yeah, that's. I don't know. Okay, so these are different environmental indicators that we've already talked about throughout the different units. And so habitat loss rate, extinction rate, depletion of atmospheric compounds, water quality, okay, fish consumption, annual precipitation, species diversity. All these things are great environmental indicators, and we've talked about most of them already, and some of them we're going to talk about in the future. Okay. So worldwide biodiversity, genetic species and habitat have been declining globally, indicating systems are not healthy and humans are not living sustainably. Okay, we're using more resources than we can resupply. Food production has steadily grown since the innovations of the Green Revolution has kept pace with population growth. So that's good. We're able to feed all of our people, right? At least for now. There's been some signs of stress with grain reserves depleting and environmental degradation, such as climate change reducing where some crops can grow. So we're seeing desertification, right? We talked about that with the overgrazing and things turning into desert. What grows in the desert? Not much, right? Not much that we can eat. Okay, and that's because we're stripping the resources. The soil is eroding, so you can't plant things there. It's hard to reestablish them. Okay? Though grain and food production has kept pace currently, the question remains if it can continue to do so, right? Have humans reached their carrying capacity? Are they over the carrying capacity? How do we know? Okay, we've already looked at some of this stuff. Okay, so there's two thoughts here. So one thought is that we haven't reached it yet. The other thought is that we won't ever reach it because it's going to mean that we're going to innovate, right? So we're going to think of some way that we can grow more food more sustainably, or something will happen. Okay. So nice little graph. So the purple line again is showing our food production, and for the most part, we're staying above our reserves, not having to dip into it, and our utilization was always a little bit less than what we actually needed, but now we're using more than what we got. Okay. Good. So average global surface temperature and carbon dioxide concentration both have direct effect on biodiversity and food production. Okay, so you guys know this. Usually the more stable an ecosystem is, the easier things are going to live there, right? When they can predict what it looks like from day to day and they know that in 3 months it's still going to be the same, or they know what to expect. Okay, I have to migrate to get out of here to get more food, right? Animals know how to naturally do that. But sudden changes like the ice cap melting so you don't have a place to go and do your mating rituals, that's a problem. Okay, because then you're dying because you're jumping off a cliff and you're also not able to mate, right? So your population is declining. So solar energy is trapped by the thickness of the atmosphere, allowing the planet to become livable. That's our atmosphere. Okay, our troposphere catches a lot of those things. The sun comes in, can't escape, which is a good thing. Okay, without that, the planet wouldn't be warm. Okay, but now we have too thick of atmosphere, and so atmospheric gases are getting trapped, and our planet is becoming warmer. Okay. The vocab word on this is anthropogenic. Okay, that means caused by humans. And so our carbon dioxide levels, it's talking about us raising carbon dioxide levels, not natural. It's usually burning of fossil fuels or cutting down forests, etc. And so the way that this works is, the sun comes in, it goes, a lot of it gets blocked from our magnetic fields and our other atmospheric ozone levels above our troposphere, but it comes in, it heats up the earth, and a lot of it gets actually bounced back out. But our atmosphere is becoming too thick and too dense that it's not able to escape, and so everything's becoming warm. It's just like if you're wearing a light coat versus a heavy coat, right? A heavy coat does what? Keeps you warmer, right? A light coat keeps you not as warm. So wearing a hoodie versus wearing a coat. That's what's happening, which we're turning into a coat. We don't want that. Okay, this graph just shows you how much our temperature is raised compared to our carbon dioxide. And so you can see really in the last 30-ish years, we've really been on like a big upswing on our carbon, and temperatures follow right behind it because there's not enough cooling down. Okay, as mentioned before, human populations affect all other factors the most. Okay, so we use a lot of resources. Just is what it is. Okay, more people creating more demand. Resources have to be used to sustain the growing population. As developing nations trend towards becoming more developed, their growth rate will eventually slow, but resource demand will likely increase. Okay, so we're going to need more, but there's going to be less of it. Is anybody taking personal finance? When your supply is low and your demand is high, what happens to the prices of things?
Jacks up.
It goes up, right? Just like gas. When we don't have that much gas, the price goes up because everybody still needs to get to work. Same thing with our other resources. Monitoring resources, both renewable and non-renewable, is an important factor among the environmental indicators. So we need to keep track of how many trees are cut down, how many fish are we taking out of the system. Okay. Right now, we have the ability to track those things better than we ever have before, so there is hope. Right? Everything's a little bit more regulated. And this is just sustainability and what we use. So meat consumption in a developing nation, we're eating more mobile phone subscriptions, that sort of thing. Okay. There's again your indicators. I'm not going to read those to you. Okay. And that is your module 32. Your review will be posted here in a little bit.